Alright, welcome to another video. I'm feeling pretty well ready to go, warmed up. Last video I made was just doing some math. I haven't done serious math since high school really, so I definitely recommend anyone who hasn't done serious math go on Khan Academy and start easy, work your way through it. It's actually a lot of fun. I really enjoyed making those videos, even though it wasn't high level math. And hopefully this can be inspiring to adult learners who want to learn networking. You know, I studied through Calculus BC in high school, but since then, all throughout my career, my experience, I really haven't studied much math, and you could see I got some of those wrong due to I think at least one of them I just misunderstood the third grade math concept, and then I got ones wrong for not being able to do quick arithmetic in my mind. So I hope that's inspiring to some people watching this who are trying to change their careers as an adult, from something that's kind of not STEM science related to something like this, which may seem really intimidating. Like it's really, like if we look at these, big scary pictures here, and then the scary, terminal window, you might think, oh no, this isn't for me because I just was never that good at math. Well, here's the proof that math skills are always going to be important. It's good to be number literate. It's good to know math, but you don't need to have won the Fields Medal at the age of 15 to get into this field. And that's kind of a joke. A similar joke would be you don't have to be Terry Tao to do this, but kind of the joke is that you just need basic math skills that you would get from graduating from high school, and maybe taking a little bit in college. Really, the math requirements to do this sort of career field are not unreasonable at all. Alright, so due to making those videos, I feel ready to go to make some more core content for this channel. That's really what I want to focus on is, if we go to the About for my channel, yeah, this definitely rings true today. The pandemic has been hard on everyone, but for me, it actually hasn't been as hard for me as it has been for a lot of people, and my heart goes out to those people, the essential workers, the medical people in the medical field, who can't just work from home. They have to be out. Medical field, they're working with people, they're working with the people who actually got the virus, trying to get them back to good health. So my heart goes out to those people for sure. But for me personally, learning computer networking has been a life-changing decision. I have a lot more control and autonomy over my life and what I want to do. And I'm able to just work from home because a lot of what my job duties are is working on devices that are halfway across the country or even halfway around the world anyway. So there's really no advantage to going to any physical location. And there's lots of advantages to staying in my current physical location. I don't need to waste time transporting. I can build a ideal work setup. My work setup is pretty much exactly how I want it. When I worked in an office, I had to make various sacrifices for how I worked and how I had a work setup. There's an air conditioning vent right above my desk that made it pretty much unbearably cold a lot of the times. And it just wasn't the ideal space to the point. Definitely not as it is here, where I just have so much control over what my environment is like. There are some advantages to working in the office, and sorry, I said I wanted to get back to core content. I guess this kind of is core content because we're talking about learning computer networking and kind of the life changes it has afforded me. Some of the advantages I found to working in an office is if you can walk to and from the office. For me, it was a 35-minute walk one way, so I was walking over an hour every day. Right there, that's a huge advantage because you don't. It's NEAT exercise. There's something called NEAT exercise, and this is non-exercise activity thermal genius. So this is energy expended for everything we do that is not sleeping, eating, or sports-like exercise. So if you have to mentally exert yourself to exercise, you're running a treadmill, you're playing sports, you're doing whatever, that's a whole different thing than just going through and living your life and expending more energy just through that. So if you can walk to and from work, not even think about it. I used to kind of like read books as I was walking. You can do like audiobooks so you're not as like in a weird posture. That's just going to be pretty beneficial to health. And then the classic kind of, I think on some level there is something to seeing a coworker in person, but so I guess I would put that in a bucket of advantages to working in office. But as I said before, the disadvantages, I think, just so vastly by orders of magnitude outweigh the any advantages for working in the office. This is why by learning computer networking has been a life-changing decision for me, because I can make that decision. Hey, the policy is to work in the office. Well, I'm not really comfortable with that policy during the pandemic. I'm going to decide to work somewhere else. So that's been a really positive thing in my life and something I'm really, really grateful for and have a lot of gratitude for. And I owe a lot of that to the fact that I chose to change my career path from music to computer networking, which has afforded me this current lifestyle that I'm very thankful for and that I'm trying to make the most out of right now. Okay, and yep, my goal is to help others help themselves. I think technology can be a huge benefit to society. I think there's arguments right now it's still kind of in its infancy. The internet was like stood up like in the 80s and 90s, so that's like less than 50 years. So it's still kind of finding its own in my mind. I think the internet has a lot of problems right now, but there you go. This is why I'm urging people to get into this field and consider it, even if they think they're not the right person for it, because there's a lot of benefit to society to be had by focusing on this kind of core content. And then the other thing, we really need to embrace the modern world. It's here to stay. It's not going to go away. So when it comes to, in my experience, something like wanting to be a classical musician, I just had to kind of face the music at some point and be like, well, who wants me to do this? It's like there's not this big driving desire to have more classical musicians by a large and population. So it's just not as much of an objective for humanity as a whole as something like technology and the internet is, and that's so I had to accept that, and I had to realize that what are people listening to if they're not listening to classical music? they're listening to pop music, and pop music has computers in it, a lot of computers in it. So, we're in the modern world. There's no way to escape that. There's no way to make a good, solid living that gives you autonomy and stuff. No way is a strong word, but basically what I'm saying is the path of least resistance to a healthy, happy life. I think it embraces the modern world, and that's just my opinion, but it has worked for me. So this channel is about all aspects of computer literacy, but especially computer networking, because that's my biggest strength. I took the JNCIESP, which is the equivalent of the CCIE. I failed, but just even attempting it is a huge accomplishment. So, and then this kind of gets into some of the, I probably need to go and update this a bit, or maybe add some more, or modify these, but I'm going to read them. So the number one is concepts, not commands. Yeah, I still agree with that. If you're working on multiple different devices, if you're working on a project that builds a new device or something like that, really the commands aren't going to get you anywhere because they're going to be different depending on your context and depending on the devices you're working on. So if you know the concepts, you're going to know the command. And sometimes there is exceptions to that. Sometimes the concepts are just so beyond what you can learn. They require like a PhD or something like that, that basically your role in the organization, your contribution to the team is the commands. So in that case, know your commands, know them really well, and don't worry so much about the concepts. But these are kind of apply in the context of learning, because that's what this channel is for. It's my education part of my career. When it comes to education and learning, definitely focus on those concepts and not so much on the commands. Is my advice, and is kind of how I've been approaching this. Okay, so number two is lessen the impact of your failures and fail often. Have inconsequential failures and have consequential successes. That's a huge one for me as well. That's something you'll see over and over everywhere in IT. You'll see failover redundancy. You'll see out-of-band management access redundancy. You'll see change management control processes. This is a big one, prevalent in all aspects of IT and computer networking. Even just on Linux, you need to back up your files before you modify them. That's going towards these as well, because if you make a mistake, you just overwrite the file with the backup and you have an inconsequential failure. If you don't back up that file, you make a mistake, now you've got a consequential failure because you've got that corrupted file and you've got no way to restore it. Okay, so this one is probably the one I need to modify. Look before you leap. I guess that's kind of the same as lessening the impact of your failures. So I could probably remove that one and only have 3 of these. I just wanted that on there, I think, because it's just kind of more of a colloquial or like well understood phrase, and I think it kind of makes point number 2 a little bit more clear. Another one is measure twice, cut once. So I think that is important as well, but I think both of those fall under number 2 here, lessen the impact of your failures. There are some kind of drawbacks. There are situations where you do need to go fast, I think, project deadlines and things, kind of Gantt chart style, things that depend on other things, and device recovery and troubleshooting. Sometimes if you have out of band connection, but then you are lessening the impact of your failures, it's not quite as important to look before you leap. You can just dive in and make a change because your failures are inconsequential. But I'll leave that on there. No need to update that. I think that's fine. So number 4 is investigate, dive deeper, extra mile, useful questions, satisfying answers. That's a good one too. It kind of falls under the concepts, not commands one, and it's just kind of encouraging active participation and not passive participation, and that really falls into all aspects and facets of a career and experiences in computer networking and as well. If you just kind of do what you're expected and just kind of go with the flow and are not constantly investigating, diving deeper, going the extra mile, coming up with useful questions and getting satisfying answers. The technology just moves and changes so fast that you might find yourself in a situation where it's your career is just kind of not going in the direction you want it to. So this is why this is on there. It just gives you those extra options in your career to kind of give you more autonomy and go where you want to go. And you can get that by continually investigating, diving deeper, going the extra mile, asking useful questions, and getting satisfying answers. That's a really good way to contribute at a high level on a project, or even just to have a successful career in general. And I this is kind of the one I think I'm living the most right now. And it's because of this channel, and it's because of my home lab. I really think doing this is beneficial. So, if you're watching this and you want to get into a career in IT, stand up a channel. I'll subscribe to it. I'll like and support it. No matter how rough it is, or you can see how rough mine is. It's about the learning. It's about the content. It's about the journey. It's not so much about what it is now. It's more about what it can be later. So don't embarrass yourself. Don't get on camera and swear or do lewd, inappropriate things. But definitely go on there with a growth mindset. So if you haven't heard of a growth mindset, take this Khan Academy course. On growth mindset. So you just Google growth mindset Khan Academy. Take this whole course. It's another one that's kind of geared for kids, but again, it's the content that matters. It's not the delivery of the content. So this is really good content, and it will kind of teach you how to think when you make your videos. As long as you're making your videos in a growth mindset as a way to practice having this growth mindset, you can do no wrong. You're going to have really great videos that are going to be productive and effective for yourself, and going to be also a net positive for others. Alright, so this video here that I'm working on, part of that introduction, I don't know I guess I'll just leave it as a part of this video. I guess maybe posting it somewhere, but I generally say something to this effect in most of my videos anyway, so I'll just leave it. Sorry, it took me 20 minutes to say it, but this is going to be a video in my Wild Networking series, and we can see we've got the RFC series, and we've got an introduction to that. So this is going to be part of the RFC series. We're just going to do the criteria that I laid out in here, And I don't see. Oh, okay. So here's, yeah. So I laid out the criteria in the descriptions here. The first criteria, we're not going to look at any RFCs older than 2015 unless an older RFC is necessary to understand the newer one. And then if there are more than 500 RFCs returned for any search, only read the RFCs from this year or last year if there aren't enough results. So let's look at that. Okay, so we've got 17 results here. I'm not sure what the search criteria was. So it looks like the search criteria, we've got standards track, internet standards, RFCs from 2015 to 2021. We're at 2022 now, so let's see if I can move this forward a bit. Okay, so we had 17. Let's see if we got any new ones published right away in 2020, or at the end of 2021. Okay, so I don't see any new ones. We still got 17 results. So let's just start with the latest one that was published. So we've got two here. So it looks like this is in order from oldest to newest. So these are the two newest. We've got registration data access protocol, and we've got JSON responses for registration data access protocol. So these are related to one another. They're brand new RFCs published in June of last year. So this is what I'm going to focus on right now for this channel. A lot of this will be kind of over my head, I think, and not relevant to what I'm doing. But kind of the idea is because I would be reading this, I will branch off and read about concepts that are useful to what I'm doing. RESTful APIs are very, very, very useful to what I'm doing now in my career. So learning more about that is going to be very beneficial. Okay, so let's just get started. This is RFC 9082, and it's Registration Data Access Protocol, RDAP, and it's the query format. So we've got an abstract here. I'm not sure how I want to read this. So that's an HTML text. Okay, so the text has the abstract too. So I think HTML is the best format. We get a table of contents, which I always am a fan of. And it's the same content. There's no extra content. All right, so the abstract, this document describes uniform patterns to construct HTTP URLs that may be used to retrieve registration information from registries, including both regional internet registries, RIRs, and domain name registries, DNRs, using RESTful web access patterns. These uniform patterns define the query syntax for the Registration Data Access Protocol, RDAP. This document obsoletes RFC 7482. And this is already getting into kind of the reason why I wanted to do this. We can look at RFC 7482. There we go, and we can see kind of the standards evolving and changing over time. That's kind of the picture I want to get. And then I want to kind of understand why it evolves and changes over time, and be able to even read a RFC and say, this is kind of tricky, or something is not right here, or something is suboptimal, and to kind of be able to predict that. Now, in this case, it took 5 years, but be able to kind of keep wraps on that and kind of understand what is a solid, perfect thing to use, and what, might be a little bit buggy or just isn't quite ready yet. So, and I'm not sure if that would necessarily be the case with the original RDAP query format released in 2015. But my goal of having that kind of evolutionary view of the internet, of computers, of computer networking, I think will be very much accomplished by doing what I'm doing right now. All right, status of this memo. This is an Internet Standards Track document. This document is a product of the Internet Engineering Task Force, IETF. It represents the consensus of the IETF community. It has received public review and has been approved for publication by the Internet Engineering Steering Group, IESG. Further information on Internet standards is available in Section 2 of RFC 7841. Information about the current status of this document, any errata, and how to provide feedback on it may be obtained here. So I know all about this. In one of my prior videos, I submitted an errata. The errata was marked as valid, but it was an errata on a RFC from like the 80s. So the discussion had already pretty much been had, and my errata did not further that discussion really, but it was kind of shined a light and was a clarifying errata for like what that discussion it was and what the ultimate conclusion of that discussion was. All right, so we don't need to read the copyright. Well, you know what? I'm just going to read it. So this is copyright 2021 IETF Trust and the persons identified as the document authors, all rights reserved. The document is subject to BCP 78 and the IETF Trust legal provisions relating to IETF documents in effect on the date of publication of this document. Please review these documents carefully as they describe your rights and restrictions with respect to this document. Code components extracted from this document must include simplified BSD license text as described in Section 4.e of the Trust legal provisions and are provided without warranty as described in the simplified BSD license. So that's important to know, but I don't want to dive too deep into this. But I didn't want to just gloss over and ignore that because I think it's important to know. And this goes to the what I was saying before in the channel. Inconsequential failures, consequential success. So it'd be a pretty consequential failure for me to get sued for just like using this, and I'm pretty sure I'm fine just to read it public. I mean, it's posted public, so that just seems strange. I don't know, maybe if I put ads up on this channel and start making money from it, that could be a problem. But yeah, I just wanted to look that over as part of the inconsequential failures, consequential successes, kind of the look before you leap motto of this channel. In the about here. Okay, so next part is the introduction. I might need a quick break before I do that. Yep, I need a break. I'll be back shortly. Okay, I'm back. So this is the introduction. This document, and I don't know if I need to wear these, but it'll probably make the audio better. This document describes the specification for querying registration data using a RESTful web service and uniform query patterns. This service is implemented using the Hypertext Transfer Protocol, HTTP. So this is another good one. So that might be the next one I focus on. And I can, when I make these, what I can do is say RFC Series, then the RFC, and then I can use this RFC as an umbrella and then go over the RFCs as part of my going over this one. These uniform patterns define the query syntax for the Registration Data Access Protocol, RDAP. This document obsoletes 7482, which we looked at before. I think that was the 2015 specification of RDAP. The protocol described in this specification is intended to address deficiencies with the WHOIS protocol. Okay, I know all about that, which is good because the WHOIS protocol, I think, needs updates that have been identified over time, including lack of standardized command structures, lack of standardized output and error structures, lack of support for internalization and localization, and lack of support for user identification, authentication, and access control. Awesome. The patterns described in this document purposely do not encompass all of the methods employed in the WHOIS and other RESTful web services used by the RIRs and DNRs. The intent of the patterns described here is to enable queries of networks by IP address, autonomous system, AS numbers by number, reverse DNS metadata by domain, name servers by domain, and entities such as registrars and contacts by identifier. Server implementations are free to support only a subset of these features depending on local requirements. Servers must return an HTTP 501 not implemented. And this is gone over in RFC. Where's my RFCs? Oh, I see. This just takes you to the references. So in order to go to the actual RFC, I'm going to click the link there. There we go. Okay. And some of these are probably the same. What is this one? Inline errata. Yeah, let's do that one because we want to see the errata. Oh, but it gives us a different format. Okay, well, that's the only format. Okay, yeah, so we'll do this one. Yeah, so it looks like one of the really nice things about these new RFCs is we get this table of contents, we get this better formatting. The old RFCs don't have any of that. So that might be a nice project for somebody. I would even volunteer to do that because it'd be pretty easy. Just go and build this table of contents and apply this formatting to the old RFCs. I would love to do that. I would volunteer to do that. I could do that as part of this channel, and I think that would benefit a lot of people. I don't know how to make that happen though. I guess what I could do is just do it personally, and then kind of have my personal copy of the RFCs that have this highlighting be up to snuff, and then say, hey, I have this personal project I did. Do you want to make this live? I think that would be the way to do it. And then that's the inconsequential failures. Consequential successes, because then, if I just reach out and I say, hey, do you want me to destroy all your RFCs, that's going to be a consequential failure. They're going to be like, who is this nut job? No, we don't want that. But if I instead reach out and say, hey, I have this project I did that improves the formatting of the older RFCs, it makes the formatting the same as the newer RFCs, and it includes that table of contents and all the links and everything. Whatever I did failing in that in my personal time working on that is completely inconsequential. And then if that's actually accepted, that's a hugely consequential success because it just goes out live instantly, and then it gives me a lot of credit. Okay, so the patterns described in this document purposely do not encompass all of the methods employed in the WHOIS and other RESTful web services used by the RIRs and DNRs. The intent of the patterns described here is to enable queries of networks by IP address, autonomous system AS numbers by number, reverse DNS metadata by domain, name servers by name, and entities such as registrars and contacts by identifier. Server implementations are free to support only a subset of these features depending on local requirements. Servers must return an HTTP 501 not implemented RFC 7231, which I think we've got up here. Yep, we've got it right here. Response to inform clients of unsupported query types. It is also envisioned that each registry will continue to maintain WHOIS and/or other RESTful web services specific to their needs and to their constituencies. And the information retrieved through the patterns described here may reference such services. Likewise, future IETF specifications may add additional patterns for additional query types. A simple pattern namespacing scheme is described in section 5. We'll get to that later, to accommodate custom extensions that will not interfere with the patterns defined in this document or patterns defined in future IETF specifications. WHOIS services in general are read-only services, according to, and that's good because you don't want to modify basically like your home address is read-only because if somebody could just change your address, you wouldn't be able to be mailed a letter. Accordingly, URL, and here's the RFC for URLs, or here's the reference. Okay, so there's the actual RFC for URLs. Patterns specified in this document are only applicable to the HTTP RFC 7231, which I think I've got it, yep, right here. So I'll put these in order here. Perfect. Oh, this one goes. There we go. WHOIS services in general are read-only services according to URL patterns specified in this document are only applicable to HTTP GET and head methods. This document does not describe the results or entities returned from issuing the described URLs with an HTTP GET. The specification of these entities is described in RFC 9083, which we've already got up here. This is the JSON responses for RDAP. Yeah, registration data access. So WHOIS is, let's take a look at WHOIS briefly. And we can see WHOIS is a query and response protocol that is widely used for querying databases that store the registered users or assignees of an internet resource. So it makes sense that the new one would be named RDAP because it's registration data access. It's just a cleaner, nicer way to say a query and response protocol that is widely used for querying databases that store the registered users or assignees of an internet resource. So already we've got really good improvements here over the WHOIS protocol. Additionally, resource management, provisioning, and update functions are out of scope for this document. Registries have various and divergent methods covering these functions, and it is unlikely a uniform approach is needed for interoperability. HTTP contains mechanisms for servers to authenticate clients and for clients to authenticate servers, from which authorization schemes may be built. So such mechanisms are not described in this document. Policy, provisioning, and processing of authentication and authorization are out of scope for this document, as deployments will have to make choices based on local criteria. Supported authentication mechanisms are described in RFC 7481. So this is probably TACX and Radius. Oh, okay. So this is authentication specific to registration data access protocol. Yeah, and this is a big reason why I'm focusing on the current SHCDs. A lot of I think what I learned in networking school focused was a little bit behind. I mean, first of all, I went to networking school in 2015, and second of all, I'm not sure how quick that curriculum changes. So when we're learning about things like tactics, especially, and Radius, things are changing all the time. So might not necessarily be completely up to date on, or well, let me put it this way. The full picture of mechanisms for servers to authenticate clients and for clients to authenticate servers has likely not been covered in my training. So that is why I'm taking this approach now, as opposed to the approach I was actually taking last year, which was to just go for more certs. I think this will increase my actual, now that I'm kind of at the stage of my where I'm actually working on the job in my career. Certs kind of aren't as valuable to me right now. I'm in the door already. Now the expert level certs, those are going to be very valuable, and I'm sure a lot of the value I'm getting from my certs just isn't immediately present for me. I'm sure if I were to roll back the clock, not get those certs, I would not be in the kind of situation I'm in now. So I'm sure those did pull a lot of weight for me. But I think just having, but I think this is what it will take for me to go to the next level. Okay, so this belongs. This one here is 7480, this is 7481, so it belongs there. Conventions used in this document, these are the same conventions for all documents, I believe. So the keywords must not, required, shall not, should not, recommended, not recommended, may, and optional in this document should be interpreted as described in BGP or BCP 14, when and only when they appear in all capitals as shown here. And it'd be nice if they were in bold too. It looks like we've got more formatting than for previous ones. And yeah, it looks like they did put them in bold as well as all in capitals, which is really nice. If I were to take on that project where I would personally download all these RFCs and reformat them to all be in this new format, I would make sure to make those statements bold. I should do that. I don't know if I have time for that though, and like it doesn't matter. Like this format is fine. Like it'd be nice to have that table of contents and to link to particular sections. But like the table of contents is right here. Like you have the table of contents. You just have to like, and like all the section headers are there too. So if I want to find this, Control C, Control V, Control C, Control F, Control V. and I'm there. So you can see how easy that was. A little easier here, of course, and you can open it in a new tab a lot easier. But even for these older ones, you just duplicate the tab, Control F, table of contents takes you right there. And then let's say I'm interested in query parameters, Control F, QUERY, BRMETERS, and I'm there. So not that big of a deal, probably not worth the time. So let's just keep on going. These I'll just open them and put them in their appropriate order. But I've gone over these before. I think it's pretty intuitive what the rules are. So I don't think it needs to be gone over. But I'll just have them. Okay, acronyms and abbreviations. So we've got acronyms are a big part of computers and IT. There's just a lot of like really specific and kind of hard to remember terminology that an acronym just really makes much more clear. A lot of these terms are like pretty are terms that are not really used in everyday language. So having a acronym that is a lot shorter than internationalized domain name or just the IDN is really, really useful. Okay, so the first acronym is IDN, which stands for Internationalized Domain Name, a fully qualified domain name containing one or more labels that are intended to include one or more Unicode code points outside the ASCII2 range. ASCII2 is the one of maybe we'll get a let me do this. ASCII2 abbreviated from American Standard Code for Information Interchange is a character encoding standard for electronic communication. ASCII and it's not a 2, it's ASCII, like those are 2 I's. I always thought it was a 2. It was like a Roman numeral 2. So this is really good. This is quick too. ASCII codes represent text in computers, telecommunications, equipment, and other devices. And we've even got a nice table here. So we can see if we want the letter A here, our code is 000. Okay, well this one's a little bit hard to read. Let's do a different one. Okay, so now we've got A. There's the decimal, start of heading. That one I'm not a big fan of either. I want one that makes it like really clear. Here we go. Here's one that makes it a lot more clear. So I'm going to open this image in new tab. There we go. So now here's the letter A. Okay, so this is all ASCII. So we can see if this were to be represented as an octet, which I thought had 8 bits. I don't know why there's only 3. Oh, you know why there's only 3 bits? Because why aren't there only 2 bits? Yeah, so I think what's going on here is when they say octet like this, and the reason there's 3 is because there had to be 3 here. So all 3 digits are significant because the first digit changes in these columns. So 3 is the minimum number of digits you can use to fully represent the data. But there is a 4th, 5th, 6th, all the way up to 8 digits because it's octet, but we only need to show the last 3 because those are the only ones that have differences. The rest are just going to be all zeros. And now we can see very clearly the character A is represented by 7 zeros and a 1 in the last character. Okay, so the next acronym is idna, which stands for Internationalized Domain Names in Applications, a protocol for the handling of IDNs. And we learned about an IDN right before this. An IDN is an internationalized domain name, a fully qualified domain name containing one or more labels that are intended to include one or more Unicode code points outside the ASCII range. In this document, idna refers specifically to the version of those specifications known as idna 2008. So I think this is the RFC for idna 2008. So that's going to be 5890 right here. So I'm not sure what the 2008 stands for because this RFC is from 2010. But let's just put this one in order and move on. Whoops. There we go. All right, domain name registry. So DNR stands for domain name registry or domain name registrar. NFC. So this looks like it's a abbreviation because it's not an acronym. The acronym would be UNF and maybe C, UNFC. Oh, it is an acronym. It just left off it's just assumed that it's Unicode. So the acronym is for Normalization Form C, but this is Unicode. The next acronym is Normalization Form KC, which is also Unicode. Then we've got what this RFC is all about. The reason we're all here is RDAP, which stands for Registration Data Access Protocol. Then we've got REST, which hopefully we're all a bit familiar with. Modern networking, APIs are a big part of it. So REST stands for Representational State Transfer. The term was first described in a doctoral dissertation. RESTful, an adjective that describes a service using HTTP and the principles of REST. RIR, Regional Internet Registry. Okay, I'm not sure how much longer I can go. It's nice that I have these laid out here, so I'm not kind of guessing at where the next section is, or after how long. And then we can see the major sections are most to the left, and then indented underneath are the more minor sections. So these are probably shorter, so I can get a better sense of how long this is going to take. So right now we're at path segment specification, which is a starter to all this. The video is 53 minutes long right now, so I'm not sure exactly what I want to do. I kind of want to take a break, just because this has been another about half an hour. So yeah, I want to take a break, and then I will come back and knock off a few of these sections. Alright, I am back after probably a minute or two. There's something called the pomodoro technique, where if you put in a lot of cognitive effort to something, it's recommended that you take a break at specific intervals, whether you think you need it or not, because the way attention works. Let me go to MS Paint Online. just so I have something easy to work with here. Your attention can go down like this. So if this were time, and then this were attention, you can go like this. So the theory is that so now you're studying for your, let's say you're studying for an hour. So your first 25 minutes are like this, but now the rest of your study session, your 45 minutes, your attention, your focus, your productivity, all of that is down like that. So the theory is you can have a study session where instead of like this, where most of your productive time happens at the beginning and then most of your study section is just not very productive. Over time, you can take breaks so that after the first 25 minutes, you have that dip again. But now you took that break, you're feeling recharged, you maybe did a little bit of exercise. I did a little bit of stretching. I recommend doing that during your breaks because it just makes you feel a lot better. Now your attention goes back up. And then as you're studying, your attention goes back up. And now, you'll probably still get sick of studying after a while, so it's still overall trend down. But now this 25 minutes of study is the same, but the rest of your study, your average study quality is up here instead of way down there. So definitely recommend that technique. It was kind of revolutionary for me to learn about, and putting it in practice is really easy. Just set a timer, or what you can even do what I just did now and just be like, I'm really feeling this. It kind of hurts, and just take a minute or two, do some stretching, and then come right back. All right, so this section is path segment specification. The base URLs used to construct RDAP queries are maintained in an idna registry, the Bootstrap registry, described in RFC 7484. So I'm not sure if I have that one open already. I've got 7480, 81. Nope, so we don't have that one yet. And we don't have 7484. Maybe. So we don't have the inline errata. That's okay. The errata is on another on another page. Yeah. So here's the errata. Okay. Queries are formed by retrieving an appropriate base URL from the registry and appending a path segment specified in either sections 3.1 or 3.2. Generally, a registry or other service provider will provide a base URL that identifies the protocol, host, and port. This will be used as a base URL that the complete URL is resolved against, as per section 5 of RFC 3986. So that's probably the URL RFCs. You probably already got that one open. Yep, 3986. For example, if the base URL is https://example.com/RDAP, all RDAP query URLs will begin with this, which is the same thing as this. So the only part of that URL that will change is the part after this static part here, which I think is typical. There are some URLs where you change this before here. You can add in www, you can add in blog dot, you can add in other things, but that's not the way RADP query URLs will work. The Bootstrap registry does not contain information for query objects that are not part of a global namespace, including entities and help. A base URL for an associated object is required to construct a complete query. This limitation can be overcome for entities by using a practice described in RFC 8521. So it looks like a newer one. Yeah, that's actually newer. Oh, yeah. So that one probably from like 2017, something like that. Let's take a look. Yeah, 2018. So I was pretty much right on the money with that. All right, I'm getting a lot of RFCs lined up here, so I'm gonna wanna, I think, stop soon, and then I'm already at the hour mark. So, and I could probably start a new video right away. I just want to get all of these closed and laid out somewhere so I can come back to them more easily later. For entities, a base URL is retrieved for the service, domain, address, etc. associated with a given entity. The query URL is constructed by concatenating the base URL with the entity path segment specified in either sections 3.1.5 or 3.2.3. For help, a base URL is retrieved for any service, domain, address, etc. for which additional information is required. The query URL is constructed by concatenating the base URL with the help path segment specified in section 3.1.6. Okay, so yeah, I think I'm going to stop it here. The video here, we're at an hour. Might do an, because I just want to keep track of these as well. I'll probably in the description put related and then all of these. Yeah, I just want to get this first RFC organized. Or this dive into, even though I have an intro to the RFC series, but I don't have kind of a beginning, perhaps introduction video to this first RFC in the RFC series. So that's what I'm going to do now. Thanks for watching and see you in the next video.